Broadcasting from the Bryant neighborhood on the historic black south side of Minneapolis. Welcome to People Power.
Welcome to People Power, speaking truth to power by bringing you voices from the grassroots. My name is Merjan, I'm your host. And thank you for joining me for a brand new season 3. I have 10 new episodes I'll be dropping, and I have a few bonus episodes too. We're starting this new season on the heels of the school massacre in Uvalde, Texas, where 18-year-old Salvador Ramos shot and killed 19 school children and 2 teachers. And also the massacre in Buffalo, New York, where white supremacist Peyton Gendron killed 10 black people, including 9 African American elders while they were grocery shopping. The massacre in Uvalde, Texas has renewed public scrutiny on the police, as local Uvalde police chief told his officers to not intervene, but to wait as the shooter went on a killing spree. Only to find out later that several officers went inside the school to rescue their own children. Twitter was on fire following the school shooting. Online activists did not mince words for the police or the mainstream media that typically takes the word of cops as the gospel, despite never-ending evidence of pervasive police corruption across the country. Antifa operative tweeted, "So let me get this straight. The police ran inside to save their own children, but then they came out and manhandled the frantic parents wanting to do the same?" Bo of the Fifth Column tweeted, "If you're a cop at the scene of a mass incident and don't have the stones to enter, give your kit to a parent." Jabuki tweeted, "Wild how every police killing, cops say, 'We thought he had a gun, we had to shoot him.' Then see a guy with a gun walking into a school like, 'Right this way, sir.'" Scott Heschinger tweeted, "Police lie, all the time, everywhere, every day, on routine paperwork, in conversations with prosecutors, to supervisors, in court, under oath, in press conferences, to reporters, on TV, in legal filings and lawsuits, to victims and survivors of crime. Uvalde is nothing new." The Latino Rifle Association wrote on Twitter, "Never forget that in the immediate aftermath of 20 children being murdered, the number one priority of the Uvalde police was hiding the truth, protecting themselves and their reputation." Apocalyptic Now tweeted, "The media just need to give statements by cops the same scrutiny they give to abuse victims." Talia Lavin tweeted, "The cops are lying should be the default position of every single journalist all the time." Joshua Potash tweeted, "Police tackling parents instead of saving children when the crucial moment came has to be the end. It has to be the end of our faith in police, the end of the idea that police exist to keep us safe. We need to move past this dangerous myth now and towards actual public safety." Left Flank Veteran said on Twitter, "If your mad cop stood by as kids were murdered, then detained and tased parents trying to do something, just wait until the independent investigation concludes all actions were appropriate." And I'm going to start this season just like last season, focusing on Target and the city of Minneapolis's massive surveillance program that targeted black folks with data mining precision, which is detailed in my series 21st Century Jim Crow in the North Star City, published by Unicorn Riot at www.unicornriot.ninja. These powerful forces wouldn't have gotten away with this extra-legal surveillance program for all these years without the imperative partnership with the local press, particularly the Star Tribune. Decades ago, the U.S. government held congressional hearings when it was revealed that 3-letter agencies had conspired and created a sweeping domestic spy program, largely known under the umbrella term COINTELPRO, which included many elements from the mainstream media in what was known as Operation Mockingbird. Here's a clip from the 1975 Church Committee hearings where the CIA Director William Colby testified, admitting to having several journalists from numerous outlets on the CIA payroll.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
While researching Target's safe zone surveillance program in Minneapolis, I found out that Target was employing a business consultant who wrote a glowing review of the program, which was published in January 2006 as a story in the Sunday edition of the Washington Post, and later reprinted in the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. This is featured in part 7 of my Target series published by Unicorn Riot called Unscathed: How the Press Helped Hide Target's Harm. In this short film, I interviewed activist, scholar, and former librarian for 25 years, Renwar Gaither, who also found some major discrepancies in local reporting on the Target Safe Zone surveillance partnership with police. I also reveal a conversation I had with the former Target insider who told me that former CEO Robert Ulrich was a staunch racist and a right-wing law and order type who made some jarring statements. Here are some excerpts from my short film, Unscathed: How the Press Helped Hide Target's Harm. You can watch the full 30-minute video at www.unicornriot.ninja.
How I know? Because I got some white friends who say, come on, bro, show you what white privilege is all about. Come on, we go on the store. They got radar on me. Look, my white friends walk right out and get that shit to me. I got white folks right now. Get up out their motherfucking bed, walk up in Target, take 4 or 5 right out there. And that's the truth, bro. That's how I know I feel from the spirit. I don't have to lie. That's the truth, bro, and that's fucked up. You know what that's called? Stereotype. They do it all the time.
Despite its long record of racism, Target has managed to come out on top, raking in record profits after George Floyd's murder and the uprising that claimed its East Lake Street store. This is in no small part due to Target's partnership with the press.
Target announcing today. Target is raising its starting wages.
Thanks for joining us. Minnesota-based Target is making big headlines today.
Target shares are up slightly in the pre-market.
They are upping their pay game.
The company is out with an interesting release here this morning.
Target is also expanding access to its benefits,
saying it's lifting its wages to a range of $15 to $24 an hour, depending on what markets, depending on certain markets, and depending on what jobs per se. But again, big move here by Target.
About 20% of employees will now be newly eligible for comprehensive health care. Target says the new starting wages are part of the company's plan to spend an extra $300 million on its labor force this year.
On January 29, 2006, the Washington Post published a story about the Target Safe City partnership with law enforcement, which was reprinted a few days later by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune. However, both newspapers failed to disclose the relationship between Target and the author, who was consulting for the multinational retailer at the time, which was confirmed by Unicorn Riot. I reached out to the Star Tribune concerning their relationship with Target in the Minneapolis Downtown Improvement District, which Target pioneered, and their lack of critical coverage into its surveillance partnership with police. Now, granted, this was almost a year ago. The Star Tribune still has not covered Target in any critical way, specifically regarding its surveillance operations in the Downtown 100 that led to mass incarceration of homeless youth. We saw how they used media to really legitimize this broken windows theory that ultimately says that if law enforcement focuses on, the most minor infractions such as jaywalking, homelessness, panhandling, spitting on the ground, that could prevent further atrocities from happening. Bloomberg Businessweek was one of the only mainstream media outlets to provide critical coverage of Target's Safe City partnership with the police only after Unicorn Riot broke the story. After following my investigation into Target and the Downtown 100, Bloomberg published a cover story with the headline, "How Target Got Cozy with the Cops, Turning Black Neighbors into Suspects." They wrote, "For decades, Target fostered partnerships with law enforcement unlike those of any other U.S. corporation." Quoting former Mayor R.T. Rybeck, who oversaw this public-private cop collaboration, he said, "The biggest difference between then and now is that so many of us come to recognition what we thought was helping had a dramatic negative impact on people of color." Rybeck's claims that they were just trying to help contradicts reality. I recently spoke with an anonymous source by phone who worked on assignment for Target shortly after they launched its Safe City surveillance partnership with police. And my source, he got to meet with CEO at the time, Robert Ulrich, on 2 occasions. And what he told me was quite remarkable. He said, Ulrich is a staunch racist and everybody within Target's inner circle knows it. He never heard Ulrich use any racial slurs. Instead, he used a lot of euphemisms. But he said he's known for using racial slurs. And there was one comment that my source told me he'll never forget. Ulrich said, "I don't just believe in the electric chair, I believe in the electric couch." He said it's one of Ulrich's phrases that he likes to say about people who break the law. He went on to reveal how Ulrich complained about black men hanging outside his downtown store. He confirmed to me that the Safe Zone surveillance partnership with police was indeed designed to target and remove those black men from downtown Minneapolis.
Activists in Minnesota created a petition to demand that Target stop funding the police. That's right, Target is accent pillows in the streets and prison industrial complex funder in the sheets. In 2004, the unholy union between Target and the city of Minneapolis became official when the evil twins launched the Safety Zone surveillance camera system paid for by Target. The purpose of the cameras? To drive out any undesirables from downtown Minneapolis. Yes, Target is paying for the police to harass predominantly black youth in their streets so you can go into their store and leave with a pair of flats, a dress, and without the milk you actually came for. Bullseye is probably a police dog. When Bullseye is not looking cute in those ads, he's definitely harassing somebody.
Hey sir,
Yeah.
you can't take any video of this in here, so you have to delete what you have.
Recently, I spoke with activist, scholar, and librarian of 25 years, Renwar Gaither. He talked about the major themes he saw after reviewing my findings concerning local media's relationship with Target.
First of all, there's this notion of trying to pitch to the community what is livability crime and livability crime reduction. And so they pitch it as being this type of crime reduction is important to the growth of commercial enterprise. So that's one thing. And also this growth in profit in the commercial area of downtown Minneapolis, say, is always in competition with other city centers nationally. So that means that it's carrying on this idea of capitalism as a set of competitive agents working to enrich or to gain profit. There's a use of surveillance technologies for social control. The young men are watched by street cops that are going around, getting IDs and so forth.
Sometimes when I did bad, like steal theft from stores and, things like that, yeah, that's my fault. But don't arrest me for walking down the sidewalk and minding my own business. Don't arrest me for that.
People that they believed that were making downtown undesirable, and it was they believed these populations were deterring their suburban base, Target's ideal shopping suburban base that they wanted, they wanted to see these people down here spending more money.
Also, there's in a lot of it, there's an absence of background on the Downtown 100 as being part of a Target Corporation-led Safe Cities program. In other words, it detaches these various programs and hides the connection between the Safe Cities initiative and their various programs, which Downtown 100 grew out of. And so there's this way to hide in a way. Although it does pitch safe cities, it kind of often hides or occludes its various arms and wings. There's an underlying broken windows theory, which has been debunked, but that's involved and it surfaced in one of the articles that I read. That's a part of opportunity, right? Opportunity crimes. So, but in the media, oftentimes it's portrayed as only in black and brown communities and done by black and brown people.
Right.
So it's anyway, it is racist on the face and has been debunked in academics. And that population, this population that criminal justice, justice and law enforcement are trying to contain and control, always remain voiceless that I've seen. In any mainstream publication such as Star Tribune, they're loath to give voice to that population.
I got jumped and robbed by these two guys when I was 18, and I fought them back, and now I got a third-degree assault. And if I would have tried to fight it, I could be doing 84 months in prison. So I told them I'd take the probation, which puts me here today. And I'm not really with that probation crap. I call it modern day slavery. So I don't like it though. It's like it's a lot of things to probation or the Downtown 100, or things just going on in the world today. It just really don't add up.
But they're wildly enthusiastic, about giving quantitative numbers of so-called crime reduction in these what they call livable crimes. And so that's the main thing I see. And so they're privileging quantitative measures of success and the absent qualitative data, which I think is necessary to really get a sense of the success of any program that's especially touted to work to reduce social problems. And also there is a lack of attention to social inequities and how government and other entities play into reproducing social inequities. So there's this lack of depth into that structure, which is really telling. Independent news sources, on the other hand, attempt to get at that, through the voices of those most affected. But the Star Tribune and others, major news sources, no, they get the voices of the powerful, the voices of directors, CEOs, these types of people, obviously law enforcement officials and so forth. Whereas the people that are most affected by it, they remain silent in their reportage. And that's what I found. There's one article published in February 17, 2011, in the Minnesota Post, written by Cynthia Boyd. The subtitle is Minneapolis a public-private partnership finding dramatic success in reducing livability crimes. So it starts off with describing what livability crimes are: petty theft, trespassing, and indecent exposure. And the next sentence, this is the very first part of the article, that's the first sentence. The next sentence, it goes, downtown 100 resulted in a reduction in misdemeanor crime among 50 chronic offenders. So, first of all, we have to note that the idea was to put into this program 100 people or chronic offenders. However, only 50 were chosen due to monetary reasons. Mm-hmm. So we have to keep that in mind, that the program it's always listed as just about to be removed. There's not enough money, and it's always on the brink of losing funding. And if we lose funding, then this crime may come back. Even from the beginning, from the start, it was, well, we wanted to add more people in it, but we had to reduce it due to funding. Right. So that's an interesting thing that helps gin up interest in it. An urgency to it. Homelessness is a factor of being involved in these livability crimes. I mean, the name itself, livability, is really, right. The way I see it is, I'm trying to live, and these, offenses are a part of that, So the community itself, in my opinion, is really not addressing homelessness as an issue, but it is trying to address the symptoms of homelessness, you see, rather than the problem itself, because that's more challenging. It's easy to pick up offenders, who have been picked up, but not to work on the problem. So, but you don't see that in the media. There's an urgency to get the program in there, get more people involved, to place them in social services, right? And also piggybacking on that is to reduce crime. But there's an absence of that, a call to work towards eliminating or alleviating as much as possible homelessness. And we see that we see that today. Not this was a decade ago, and now we still see that, encampments, and we see it growing, So it's funny how what I'm also seeing is that it's interesting how the media itself perpetuates a sort of absence or sort of just invisibility to the central core problem. It perpetuates it, so it acts like, well, this is just a natural thing. Homelessness is just natural. There's no connection between the society and its systems of, its institutions or anything, or its economic system, which I'm always talking about. There's no connection between that and the media.
I don't come downtown to cause any havoc. That's not my main idea, to come downtown to cause any havoc. I really come downtown because I feel safe downtown. I was homeless. Well, actually, I was never homeless. I had my family to go to, but it's just like, I didn't want to be around nobody. after my mom passed away. So it's like I made myself homeless.
The way I see it is that the idea is that, and it's a liberal idea, which Minnesota, but Minneapolis in particular, St. Paul, the Twin Cities, is a so-called liberal community. And the liberal idea is to, that social support, social services, rather than the underlying economic system and the conditions that it creates, is not the culprit, but which needs to be funded. And these somehow will magically, these band-aids over the symptom will magically get rid of the underlying cause. But basically, this is done for capitalist or profit gain. That's how I see it. And so there's this nexus of liberal support for it from a lot of agencies and organizations, because basically they don't see a way to reconstruct this society or reconstruct institutions that really would change the underlying economic system that I see creates haves and have-nots.
I can never walk a mile in anybody's shoes, but I can understand what they've been through.
The main point I want to say about this is that the Star Tribune, along with most other media sources, mainstream media, the primary difference that I think between that and independent sources like yourself is that they do not give voice to the powerless. Okay, and in the Downtown 100 initiative definitely is focusing on street, offenders in the street, as they're termed.
Dreadlocks, dark skin, pants sagging, slangy talk, whatever. They're gonna think you either a gangbanger, drug dealer, a mugger, something. They're gonna think something negative about you.
Instead of holding power accountable for corruption and abuse, critics say the mainstream media in Minneapolis has been more of a lapdog than the watchdog that people need.
It also highlights law enforcement, like Star Tribune. They highlight law enforcement and commercial interests and private social services, and pitches a sort of, it presents a synergy between these three entities, which I find it's a way that naturalizes. There's this assumption that, it's better if we link these three groups together: private social services, commercial or capitalist enterprises in the downtown area, and law enforcement. That linkage will create a synergy that will definitely that will contribute to the growth of our enterprise. And this also includes government apparatuses such as, judicial and criminal justice systems.
Carl Bernstein, the famous investigative reporter best known for his part in uncovering the Watergate scandal that took down President Nixon, wrote in 1977 about the collusion between corporate media and the state. In an article he penned for the Rolling Stone, Bernstein said, "There's ample evidence that America's leading publishers and news executives allowed themselves and their organizations to become handmaidens to the intelligence services." Today, corporations like Target have their own counterintelligence programs. And more than any other retailer, Target has partnered with police, the FBI, ATF, DEA, the NSA, and even the CIA. But you're not going to find that in the Star Tribune.
So there's a whole network, a whole web of interests that are attached. It's never discussed how these work in concert. It's kind of how they work individually, and it's painted as a way of helping these young men improve their lives. And what's missing, what's absent, we'll say, is the law enforcement side intervention in their lives.
And that was a clip from my new film, Unscathed, How the Press Helped Hide Target's Harm. To watch the entire half-hour video, visit www.unicornriot.ninja. Also, I'm back into fundraising mode. As you know, we're completely independent and in need of your support in order to keep bringing you critical content that you won't find in the corporate media. And also to help finish my documentary, Targeted Part 2, which I thought I was going to deliver to you last summer, but funding fell through. In the description to this podcast is a link to my GoFundMe. Please contribute what you can by sharing your money. Shout out to those supporters who've already contributed. Sarah, Christine, Ariella, Dave, and Betty. Shout out to Isaac Spector for the dope music and sound engineering. We'll be back soon with a new episode. And as always, all power to the people who organize.